Alright, welcome back to Dino World, entry number 37. We're going to be looking at the Pterodactyl today. Remember to like if you like, and subscribe down below for more videos. Alright, so our schedule is normal. We're going to be looking at the Pteranodon, and Ark Survival. Tips and tricks for the Pteranodon, potential add-ons for Ark Survival Ascended and Ark Survival 2, and reworking the Pterodactyl for my new game, Dino World. Let's get into it. So of course, looking at the Pteranodon from Ark Survival Ascended, it is an animal and a reptile, so it goes in Kingdom Animalia and Group Reptilian. Description is flyer. Its traits, it'll walk around on its feet for a limited time, usually on a beach or near some trees. It will fly most of the time, flying in circles, flying in some direction before landing once its stamina drains. It will fly away once attacked, however, so do be wary about that. It's best to carry around a bola when trying to tame one, because you'd want it to tie it to the ground and keep it from flying away if you're trying to tame it. So of course, the Pteranodon health stats in Ark Survival Ascended is kind of low, similar to the Parasaur. It has a health of 210, stamina and oxygen both 150, food and water both 1200 each, weight 120, melee 18, with its spiral aerial attack doing 50 damage, so very effective for dealing with flyers. Speed, walking speed is 2.6 meters per second, while flight speed is 6 meters per second with a torpor of 120. So very somewhat small health stat, but its flying stat is very useful, especially because it can outrun both Quetzals and Argentavises. Some tips and tricks, it's a loot farm. Using the Pteranodon's speed and size, they can be a good supply crate farmer, flying around and opening supply crates and putting the loot back to base. It is also able to carry valuable items and artifacts while being able to outrun most flyers, dragons, wyverns, Argentavises, Tapejaras, Quetzals. It can outrun basically anything with its speed. It also can be used as a fighter plane during combat, using its barrel roll attack, which does 50 damage base, and its smaller hitbox with aerial maneuvers, such as its barrel roll maneuver. This dino can be extremely hard to hit by both turrets, animals, and players alike, so very useful. Some tricks, it's a valuable asset. Its speed and maneuverability makes it capable of flying through dangerous terrain such as volcanoes, deserts, canyons. It can go through even the smallest of cliffs and trenches to transport valuable resources, farming artifact caves, and even if its carrying capacity is small. It's also a good tame lure. Let's say you see a Giga and you want to lure it into a trap. Use the Pteranodon to attack it from the air and lure it into this trap, or use its flying position to fly onto a high cliff and shoot a Allosaur or Rex from your high up cliff position to the potential claim down below. So very useful when taming, as well as artifact and supply crate farming. So some potential add-ons I'd like to see added to the game: able to pick up and carry a small to mid-sized creature in its talons or another player. I think this is very useful. Even though the Pteranodon does not have a good carrying capacity, I do think it should have some sort of way to carry maybe a player. That'd be pretty neat. Or a small creature. Loot farm, carrying capacity 50% for valuable resources like obsidian, crystal, and elements, while 10 to 25% for artifacts. I think this would be pretty good for it to be used for loot farming and loot harvesting for valuable resources like crystal and obsidian, while also carrying around and transporting artifacts from artifact caves. So looking at the Ark Survival Evolved Pteranodon versus the Jurassic World Pteranodon, you can see that the Jurassic World one is a little bit more detailed, but obviously its eyes are kind of weird, and I think the Pteranodon in Ark Survival has a better face overall. But I do think the Jurassic World one looks a little bit better because the wings have more patterns on them, there's more patterns on its back, and it's a lot more colorful in the face area, while the Ark Survival one is mostly just one color with a different eyepiece. Looking at the Dino World one, however, I do think ours is also pretty good because we have a color gradient that goes all the way down the body, while the Ark Survival one is just one color except for the crests. So I think the Ark Survival one is a good overall model, but it does have it is kind of monochrome. So looking at the Pterodactyl in Dino World, first of all, I wanted to make it clear that even though it's called the Pterodactyl and the Pteranodon are the same dinosaur, they're just called different things based on Scientists used to call them pterodactyls, now we call them pteranodons. But of course, I still think the pterodactyl name is cooler than pteranodon, so we're going to use that for our game. So while Ark will use pteranodon, its pteranodon name, we will use the much cooler pterodactyl name. So of course there's two types of pterodactyls. There's the normal pterodactyl, which is the wild and tamed dino variant, and the second variant is the mutated pterodactyl, which is the product of two tamed pterodactyls mating, breeding, and laying eggs, plus a gene computer for mutations. So of course, the pterodactyl is in Kingdom Animalia, of course, and still is in the group reptilian because dinosaurs are prehistoric lizards. It is in the class of flyer, and family is the duckbill flyer because of its huge duckbill seen here, and it joins the Quetzal, the Tapejara, and of course itself. So of course, the pterodactyl stat block compared to Ark Survival, of course, health is a little bit of stats are increased and decreased. Health is increased to 250 instead of 210, stamina 200 instead of 150, food and water decreased to 1k each instead of 12,000 each. Weight is 200 instead of 120. Melee stat is 20 instead of 18, with the spiral attack remaining the same. Its walking speed is decreased to 2 meters per second, while its flight speed is increased to 7 meters per second, with a torpor of 200 instead of 120, with a fortitude of 0. So most stats are increased, some are decreased, like the food and water stat. So of course, the pterodactyl in Dino World has a few additional traits. Obviously, I think it should be able to pick up players, maybe not creatures, but it still should be able to pick up players. It has a extra spiral dive attack, which it dives in a spiral to attack a target in the head from above, so it deals critical damage with this spiral dive attack. It also has a deep dive. It can spiral dive into the ocean to pick up a small swimmer like a trilobite or small fish for killing, or also attack prey like attacking sharks from above. It also has an ability called Quick Swipe. Its combat ability, it attacks a player riding a tame, ripping them off their saddle, flying them up into the air, ripping into them before dropping them downward. So it's just a way to get a rider off its dino, to make it more useful and make the dino that you're attacking weaker, as it kind of just will attack in a random pattern instead of targeted like a player would want, with a 15-second cooldown as well. So of course, the final thing we're going to look at is Dino World spawns for the main map of Europa. Obviously, spawn rates for blue is guaranteed, green very likely, yellow feudal likely, orange for rare, red very rare, and purple for dead. Looking at this, we have a lot of various biomes. We have it very likely to spawn on the beach or to be flying around a beach. It's feudal likely to be seen in the Highlands area, rare to see in the jungle or flying around the jungle, and very rare to see in the cold forest of the Taiga and the desert lands in the south. But of course, you can still find it on the beaches and the jungle of the herbivore island, as well as the desert beaches of the desert area, though it is rare to see them on the beaches of this area instead of very likely to see in the jungle beaches. Alright, so that's going to be the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you like, dislike if you don't, subscribe if you like it. Comment down below whether you like the name Pterodactyl or Pteranodon better. And of course, just comment your own general thoughts as well. Have a blessed day, and of course, as always, toodaloo!